Chuck Norris is widely known as the Hollywood hero who stands tall in the face of adversity, but his strength goes far beyond the fictional battles he fought on screen. At 85 years old, Chuck has been through battles that few could imagine. Born Carlos Ray Norris in a small, quiet town in Ryan, Oklahoma, his life began not with the bright lights of Hollywood, but with a dark and painful childhood that shaped him into the resilient man he is today. His story starts in a house where fear echoed louder than any dreams he could have imagined. Raised by a father who struggled with the trauma of war and addiction, Chuck's early years were defined by violence, poverty, and the constant sound of his father's rage. Despite the darkness that surrounded him, Chuck's mother, Wilma, was the beacon of light in his life, carrying the weight of the family with unwavering faith. A childhood shaped by fear and resilience. Chuck's childhood was anything but ordinary. Raised in an environment where fear was constant and the weight of his father's anger hung heavy in the air, Chuck learned early on how to survive. His father, a man who had once served in the military, came back from war a changed person. The trauma he endured overseas manifested in alcohol-fueled rages that shook the family. For Chuck, his childhood wasn't filled with playful memories or carefree days, but with the constant threat of violence. Despite the challenges, Wilma's strength and faith kept her family going. She worked tirelessly to make ends meet, hiding money when she could, and offering the love and stability Chuck so desperately needed. However, the years of fear left scars, and at 14, Chuck made the decision to protect his mother by standing up to his father, marking the beginning of his transformation. The turning point, a move to California. At 16, Chuck's mother made the decision to leave the abusive household for good. With little more than the clothes on their backs and the hope of a better future, the family moved to California. While California didn't promise happiness, it offered something far more valuable: an escape. The quiet of the state allowed Chuck to breathe for the first time in years. But the scars from his past remained. The fear, the anger, and the sense of not belonging shaped him, turning into a quiet strength that would later define his career. The pain of his childhood didn't disappear with the move. Instead, it became the foundation for the man he was destined to become. The boy who had lived in the shadows of his father's violence was now free to forge his own path. A new beginning in the Air Force. Chuck's move to California was only the beginning of his personal transformation. At 18, he enlisted in the Air Force, looking for discipline and structure, something to fill the emptiness left by his turbulent past. Thousands of miles from home, in South Korea, Chuck found martial arts, a discipline that would change his life forever. Initially, he struggled with the sport, frustrated by his lack of skill and the many failures along the way. But rather than giving up, Chuck channeled his frustration into determination. Every time he fell, he got back up. Every drop of sweat became a small victory over the fears that had once held him back. Taekwondo and judo became more than just martial arts to Chuck. They were a way to silence the noise of his past, to build a quiet inner strength that had been missing for so long. The making of a fighter. From airman to karate champion. After leaving the Air Force in 1962, Chuck returned to California, bringing with him the discipline and focus that martial arts had instilled in him. He opened a small karate school, but business was slow. Most days, the dojo was empty, and Chuck would spend his time cleaning the mats and waiting for students to arrive. But his belief in the power of discipline and hard work kept him going. Slowly, people began to take notice. By 1964, Chuck's reputation as a skilled martial artist began to spread, and he started to attract more students. However, he wasn't content just to teach. He wanted to prove himself. By 1967, Chuck had become the professional middleweight karate champion, a title he would hold for 6 consecutive years. But his journey wasn't about the titles. It was about proving to himself that discipline and hard work could shape a man from the inside out, transforming a quiet, unsure boy into a force to be reckoned with. The road to fame. Overcoming rejection. Despite his martial arts prowess, Chuck Norris struggled to find his place in Hollywood. During the late 1970s, he faced closed doors, with many casting directors dismissing him as too stiff or too uncharismatic for leading roles. But Chuck's discipline never wavered. Every rejection fueled his desire to prove himself, to show that strength wasn't just about physicality. It was about perseverance, grit, and the ability to keep moving forward, no matter the obstacles. In 1978, his big break finally came with the release of Good Guys Wear Black. The public immediately embraced Chuck's unique style, and he quickly became an icon. In the 1980s, he went on to star in a series of successful films, including The Octagon, Missing in Action, and Code of Silence, cementing his place as one of Hollywood's biggest action stars. Hollywood fame and personal struggles. Even as Chuck Norris became a household name in the 1980s, his personal life was far from perfect. Behind the scenes, he struggled with the pain of loss, particularly the death of his brother, Wieland Norris, in the Vietnam War. Wieland had been Chuck's light in a house filled with darkness, the one who told jokes and brought joy to their family. His loss devastated Chuck, and the grief he carried with him became an invisible weight he carried throughout his career. Additionally, Chuck's marriage to Diane Holchek, whom he had married long before becoming famous, eventually fell apart after 30 years. Despite the fame and success, Chuck still carried the silent scars of his past, and the pain of his failed marriage only added to the weight he had to bear. Finding peace and building a family. In 1998, Chuck found the peace he had been searching for when he married Gina O'Kelly. Her quiet strength and unwavering support became the foundation for Chuck's new chapter in life. Together, they built a family and had twins, Dakota and Dan Lee, in 2001. For the first time, Chuck found himself in a home filled with the laughter of children, a stark contrast to the silence of his past. He spent the next decade focused on his family, enjoying the simple joys of life and finding contentment in a way he never had before. But life has a way of testing even the strongest of us. In 2013, a routine MRI for Gina turned into a nightmare when a reaction to the contrast dye left her with a debilitating condition that caused her muscles to weaken and her nerves to deteriorate. As Gina's health worsened, Chuck became her steadfast caregiver, dedicating his life to finding a cure, no matter the cost. Unwavering love and strength. As Gina's condition worsened, Chuck Norris's strength was put to the ultimate test. For years, he had fought in the public eye, winning battles on screen and earning the adoration of fans. But now, the true test of his strength came in the form of the woman he loved. With endless medical treatments, countless doctor visits, and a life on the line, Chuck never left Gina's side. He gave up everything, including his career, to be there for her. In the quiet moments, with no cameras or lights, Chuck showed the world that true strength isn't about physical power or fame. It's about love, commitment, and the ability to keep going even when the world seems to fall apart. Chuck Norris, the man who had fought so many battles, had found peace through the love of his family, and it was in this peace that he discovered the true meaning of strength.